All right. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is 25th September 2024. If you're watching this recording, we encourage you to come join us live. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's an opportunity to listen to what the maintainers are working on, provide live feedback, ask questions, or get live help with any of the tools. For those that are here today, if you have anything you wish to discuss with the community, please add that to the discussion topics section at the end of the agenda below. If you aren't able to attend live and would like to reach out to us with questions or feedback, you can also find us in the Kubernetes Slack workspace in the Carvel channel. You can email us, find us on GitHub and on X at carvel_dev. When you attend these meetings, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked out here in the agenda. For those in attendance, please add your name and any organization you represent to the attendees list. All right, next on to the announcements. We had Ashish join the open source summit, and he was going to give a talk on the LFX mentorship showcase. And he did mention that he's going to talk about Carvel there.
Is Reno
I think
frozen?
given the last frame, I think Reno just lost electricity because the lights just went out. But yes, so Ashish was gonna talk about like how we explored OCI registries and what the project is about at the OSS Summit, and he mentioned that. So yep, I think that's what Reno was gonna say as well. I'm not sure if we should. Okay, Reno's out. So, Joe, do you wanna share your screen by any chance?
Give me 1 second.
Right.
I'm trying to log into HackMD, but I guess just get out. Nope. So just give me a second. I'm trying to get my
I think I can share. Just
ducks in a row. I got. Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, let me just remove the thing. I'm not signed in. Like something's happened in my machine, but I guess it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna click here.
Back.
Let me just push. All right. Oh, hey, Rena.
Yes, so sorry about that. The lights went off, electricity went off, the network went off, waiting for it to come back, but I'm on the hotspot. So go ahead and share, Joe.
Yeah, I'm doing that. So there you go. You were talking about this.
Yep. So, and he did mention that he's going to share the videos as soon as they're out. So we shall post it here sometime whenever it is available. Okay. Moving on. Any other announcements that people want to share or has happened? I think Somik Somik has applied for booth in KubeCon India, which is going to happen in December in Delhi, New Delhi. So let's see.
So we yet to hear back, but most likely we'll have a booth for maybe 1 day, around 4 to 5 hours. And yeah, some of us will be there. So
Okay, at least one KubeCon we can attend. All right. Moving on to the releases. I see that vendor was released. Sumit, do you want to talk about the changes? Looks like it's your change.
I can talk about my change. So essentially, if vendors being used as a CL, and let's say you require like CS certificates to talk to specific registries, you can simply make sure that your host has access to them. But we essentially extended the configuration itself to allow folks to supply additional CSOs while pulling image package bundles. This is handy when you're like maybe consuming vendor as a library, right? And like in a control or something like that. So that's what my change did essentially. And I believe German worked on fixing a panic that happens in a certain case. I'm not quite familiar with it, but yeah, that was a bug fix from German.
Did we update the documentation to add whatever thing we added?
Yep, that's in as well.
All right. Anything else about this release? Anybody has any questions?
There are no updates to the project roadmap. Looks like there are a couple of items in the backlog that we have pulled in. Scope to override flags updated.
That's something we wrapped up. So we've been talking about the changes we want to make to the flags for a bit, and I've made those changes and they're merged in. Essentially making, so when you're choosing certain namespaces, where you can like, sorry, certain apps which you want to snatch ownership from, you don't need to use the other dangerous flag that's there. And we've made that flag itself dangerous. We have talked about that a few times, so that's finally gone in.
Right. There are changes in vendor also happening.
This is something Joe did actually. Joe, do you wanna just moving the generator?
I didn't change vendir, so I don't know what this is about. I did a change on image package that allows for an easier consumption of image package as a library, especially on the copy side. That just pulls out pulls out the ability to generate a tag to the interface, to like a public package, which would allow us to more easily create, like consume the APIs. So that's basically the change that was done.
I moved it around, so I guess I can take vendor. We've talked a bit about making sure that when we are caching, we take the whole URL into account. So that's something I plan on taking up maybe over the next 2 weeks. And I just created an issue for it, and it sort of connects back to the kapp-controller issue we had, where if you're switching registries, you need to drop the cache for the new package bundles to be picked up. So yep, that's what this is about.
This should be a pretty straightforward change.
Yep.
All right. Anything else on anything that people are working on in CAP, KCTRL, or any other tools?
I am taking a look at vendir. Just there's an issue that Ben Hale created last week. I was looking into it. It's basically an issue with when you're downloading a Git release, and you're archiving it, and you're asking it, like there's a tar and you ask it to explode it in disk. We are doing some validations on the we're not able to extract a symlink, and that's a problem. So I was looking into that, and I was looking into another issue that somebody from the community asked to reopen, that is related to the fact that if you try to download something, in this particular case was like a Git repository, and you chose just a folder from that particular repository, and there's a symlink on it that points to the outside, then it fails. Vendir fails because it tries to validate the symlink. So there's like this situation where we do things in a particular order, where we download, in this case, we go to the Git repository, we download the Git repository, we do some operations on it, then we apply a filter that will only copy the files that are in the included paths to the other place, to the correct place that we want them, and then we do the validation of the symlinks. And because of this order, if you just add one folder and that folder includes a symlink, but the symlink is pointing to a different folder, the validation for the symlinks fail. So I was looking into that. I'm not 100% sure like what would be like the best option here. But this feels kind of like a corner case here. So we'll have to see what we're gonna do about that.
Since we are at vendor, Joe, has it anytime occurred that when we are fetching a Git repository, instead of doing a Git pull of the full repository, we just pull only the folder in which we are interested in? Like, did we ever explore it, thought around it?
I don't think you can do that on Git.
I mean, there is a possibility if we like. I'm just taking a look at.
I'm just
GitHub.
asking because like I thought that when you do a Git clone, right, or a fetch, you fetch the full repository. You do not provide it like a path for it.
So I'm taking a look at one GitHub issue, and it says we can do a sparse checkout. So I have added it. Over here. I mean, so there is when we are using kapp-controller as a in the GitOps mode, right? This might help if we have very big Git repositories. Not sure if it is going to work, but I'm just asking: is this explode anytime?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Also, I think not just this, another thing is so in vendor we have the option to fetch only the latest commit and not the whole commit history. But we don't have that option in kapp-controller. I think we should add that, because I think just fetching the latest commit would reduce the size by a lot.
Yeah, so
That's something we already have in vendor, so we could do.
What is the problem that we're trying to solve here? It's the time it takes to download, or is the size in disk? What are you trying to solve?
time to take download.
And once we have caching, and if the size is more, then I think it would also become like a size issue as well, size on disk.
Are we going to enable caching for Git repositories?
I think last
Um,
time
there
I
have been folks who would want that.
I mean, that can be, I feel, something secondary caching. We can take a look, but like these are the two things we can do. Try to see if they can help. One is caching, another is only pulling the checkout, and if somehow we can do a sparse checkout. I just wanted to know if this is something which is already brought on table.
No, it's not, but it does feel like a hack. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the explanation in here just feels like, oh yeah, if you do create this file and put like whatever you want inside of it, just feel a little bit hacky.
yeah. I mean, like
But to be fair, okay. But to be fair, like we are kind of doing some of like this step. I don't think do a git init. I don't think we do a git init. That would have to change, I think. But
I think we do too many things in Git. I remember.
I think we do Git init.
we do git init. Yeah, I think like we do like a bunch of commands on Git. I forget like the order of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
But short answer, no, we never thought about this.
Okay.
Brenna?
All right. Moving on to the next. I think we're on to the discussion topics. I added a couple of them there. The survey and volunteers for KubeCon NA is from my end. So had posted a survey to see what all tools are being used. Haven't got a ton of responses yet. So far, I've got only 6 responses. I'm going to wait till I think our next community meeting to close it, and then I shall publish those and probably show it in the community meeting itself. So that would be second week of October. So anybody has any questions on the survey, I'm happy to answer. If you have not taken, if you can share it across with folks, please do. Doesn't look good so far. All right. The next
replies that people made, the replies that you got till this point.
Yeah, it's not too many replies. It's just 6 as of now. I'm hoping for more, and then it's also few of the tools which are not getting used. So yeah, that's also a little concerning. So maybe something that we have to do or think about.
Do you think you like maybe add a link here? Oh man, I know I'm not logged in. Stop asking.
Yeah, I will add the
Add
survey
a link
here.
maybe there, and let's try to bump the thread up again. See if we get more replies on Kubernetes Slack.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Send. Copy. And
Okay, so while you're doing that, I was able, like, I talked to the folks from CNCF about Algolia. I don't know if I said this before. We are like in a free Algolia account, so we cannot just transfer it to CNCF. But what I did was I added CNCF as one of the users for that Algolia account. So if something happens, at least they have access to it as well. So and they accepted and like they closed my ticket there. So I think we're good. I think there was something else that I was trying to get with them. I think it was bot accounts. Was it? I
Oh,
forget.
yeah.
Okay, I think
We
I
have-
need to open a new ticket for that. For the bot, I need to review the ticket that I created and create a new one because they asked me to separate both. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
I need.
try to take a look at it today.
I also need to create a ticket to ensure that the invites are going from the right account. I think the invites are right now, the meeting invites are from Nancy's account. So we need to change that. So I need to open a ticket. That's what I reached out to Nate and that's what he told. So I'll do that. Okay. Next topic was volunteers for KubeCon, which is also looking very dry. Haven't got any volunteers yet for KubeCon NA. If people are not stepping up, I think I'm going to have to cancel the half-day booth that we have. So I'll again bump the thread and keep it open till mid-October and then close it out if we don't get anybody to represent us on the booth. Joe, would you be traveling to KubeCon?
I am not. I was not given any budget to go to KubeCon.
You can ask for CNCF budget.
Might be a little bit too late, right? I can check it out and see. It's in November, Salt Lake, right?
Yeah.
I'll try to see what I can do.
Okay, that's it from my end. Then there's one more topic, cap dangerous scope to fallback allowed namespaces. That's a big dangerous flag. Scope to fallback allowed namespaces.
Yeah, I added that bit. So basically, there is a flow of listing resources in cap. Like whenever someone tries to deploy, let's say, some resources, and then the first thing that cap does is tries to see if all the resources that are being deployed are present on the cluster or not. So there is and how cap does is it for all the GVKs that we have, tries to list each GVK on the cluster. And there is basically a flow of checks that it does because it might not have access. The service account might not have access to everything. So the first thing that it tries to do is list cluster wide. Like if there is for cluster scope namespaces, it's basically easy. Like it has to be a cluster wide access for that. But if it's a namespace scope resource, then the first thing it tries to do is it tries to list across the cluster. If that works, we are good. But if it does not, then it tries to list all the namespaces present on the cluster. If that works, then basically tries to list resources in all the namespaces one by one. If that does not work, then it goes for like there are some list of namespaces, fallback namespaces. I'll come to that part later on, like how do we get the list and all. So if listing the namespaces itself does not work, then it basically fall back to the namespaces that it has and tries to list resources across that. So if this flag is enabled, then kapp does not tries to list all the namespaces. It only lists resources in those namespaces. I think I might not be making a lot of sense, so I can maybe share my screen and use a diagram.
Like, I think that the main question here is, like, at least that I have, is why do we need to list all the things, right? So kapp is going to try to before it applies something.
Mhm.
Is it because we need to list everything to see if there's any resource from the app that kapp is trying to apply already there?
Yeah, if it's already then it will be like an update operation. Maybe a no op, maybe an update. And if it's not there, then create operation. So it has to determine like what sort of operation you need to do. If the resource already exists and there's no change, then it's just a no op. Like we don't need to do anything. But if there's a change, then it will be an update operation.
Is this only the case when there's no config map present? Because if the
Like
config map is present, then we know exactly that what entities exist, what resources exist in the cluster, right?
we only store GVKs in the config map. In the meta config map, we only have the list of GVKs.
Just a list of GVKs. We don't say like the namespace and the GVKs.
We do have the namespaces. That I was coming to that part as part of fallback allowed namespaces. Like that's the list of namespaces that we have. So earlier, that list only had the namespace where the app is deployed, not the other namespaces, because we could be creating resources in multiple namespaces, but the app itself might be in certain namespace foo. So earlier, it used to be only that namespace as part of fallback allowed namespaces. But then we made an enhancement where we added all the namespaces to that list. So this flag is actually not that dangerous anymore. It's
But
actually not dangerous.
I don't like something that I don't understand is why do we need to get all the information though? Then if we know the namespaces, if we know the JVKs that are present, then we don't need to like list anything. We just need to do gets.
So basically, we are doing list over get because there usually like there are multiple, let's say, GVKs present within a single app. So if we do a list, then we basically get all of them in one call. If we do get, then we have to do a get for each and every resource.
So basically what we're doing is doing a list for each namespace that exists in the config map.
Yes, like the first thing that we try is to list across cluster, right? Because if we don't provide the namespace, like if namespace is empty, then we get all the resources across the cluster. Like that's the first preference. But if the service account does not have that permission, then we fall back to the second part where we try to list the namespaces.
Yeah, but that's going to be like a huge list. And it's going to take forever
Yep.
for the API server to get it back.
Yeah.
Isn't it like more performant to just not do that?
Now it is like earlier, as I mentioned, we were only storing one namespace as fallback allowed namespace. So that list wasn't complete. But now that it is, this flag is not dangerous anymore and should probably be set to true by default.
Yeah, this is just like an optimization. I don't understand why it is a flag. After as soon as we added all the namespaces that we add resources to, this flag should no longer exist because we should only get the resources from those namespaces.
Yeah. At that time, we didn't change it. Like we wanted to remove the dangerous part itself, but due to backward compatibility, we would have to introduce a new flag. So that is something we didn't do that part of time, but it recently came up again. So I think we should do it now.
Okay, and do it is basically removed, right?
Do you mean remove the flag
Mhm.
or?
That remove the flag, yeah.
That might be a breaking change for some folks.
Mhm. Okay.
Or should we change the default value to true for now? But then with dangerous, that does not
Why
make
would you
sense.
put this flag on? If you wanted to search on all the namespaces, right? Like search on the namespaces that the kapp added resources to, right? So in the end, we're making default the behavior that the people that use this flag were using it for. Yes, it's a breaking change because the flag is no longer going to be there, right? We can have like an intermediary step where the first thing that we do is if you provide this flag does nothing for you. It just gives you like a
Yeah.
warning out. And then in like, I don't know, 3-4 months or something like that, we just remove the flag.
Do we know how many folks are using this flag? Are people actually using this flag?
Even kapp-controller is using it.
Oh.
But it doesn't really matter, right? Like in the end,
Yeah.
we control everything. And so if we were going to default the behavior to making this flag false, that would be something else. But since we are actively saying that this flag here becomes like the default behavior, yeah, it's like every time that you call kapp, this is the default behavior, then I think it's like less problematic. And to be fair, for kapp-controller, as soon as we make this behavior default, we can just remove the flag.
Yeah, we can
After
change it
we
in kapp-controller. Yeah, I think like removing what this flag does and changing the behavior to what we want, what we prefer users to do, would make sense. And later on, after some releases, we can remove the flag altogether.
Do we already have an issue for this?
I don't think so. I can create one.
Yeah, and do put it in the community if people have any thoughts in the Slack channel. They have some thoughts they can put in there.
Okay.
In the Slack channel, yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to discuss today? All right then. Thank you all for joining today's Carvel community meeting. If you're watching from home, we'd love for you to join us live. We'll see you at the next meeting. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.